The massive screen in the Galactic Council's main chamber flickered with new data. Around the circular table, representatives from 20 different alien species leaned forward, their various eyes, sensors, and perception organs focused on the incoming information. The data showed something unexpected. A new spacefaring civilization had been discovered in what they considered a backward sector of the galaxy. Admiral Vex, the Council's military commander, stood tall on his four legs, his scaled skin reflecting the blue light from the screens. His upper arms crossed over his armored chest, while his lower ones operated the holographic controls. Another primitive species learning to crawl among the stars, he said, his voice dripping with contempt. The scans continued to pour in. The newly discovered civilization, humans, had established colonies on several planets in their solar system and were beginning to explore nearby stars. But what caught everyone's attention were the sizes of their ships. "These readings must be wrong," said Representative Krill, her crystalline form shimmering as she moved closer to the display. "Their largest vessels are barely the size of our scout ships." The council chamber erupted in clicking sounds, whistles, and various alien languages as the members discussed this peculiar discovery. Some were amused, others curious, but none seemed concerned. Admiral Vex manipulated the controls, bringing up a comparison chart. The largest human ship was displayed next to a standard council cruiser. The difference was striking. The council vessel dwarfed the human ship by at least 5 times. "Look at their power readings," one of the junior analysts said, his tentacles waving excitedly. "They're achieving faster than light travel with engines that small. How is that possible?" Admiral Vex dismissed the observation with a wave of his upper right hand. "Primitive technology, no doubt barely stable. It's a wonder they haven't blown themselves up yet." The council's head researcher, Dr. Mole, a being of pure energy contained within an environmental suit, floated forward. "Our intelligence suggests they've only been in space for a few centuries. Their technological progression is unusual. We should perhaps study them more before." "Before what?" Admiral Vex interrupted. "Before we show them their place in the galaxy. They need to learn the natural order of things." He brought up another display, showing the humans' home planet. "Look at their defenses. Barely 50 ships protecting their entire civilization. My fleet alone has 10 times that number." The council president, an ancient being with skin like bark and eyes that had seen millennia pass, raised a gnarled hand for silence. "What do you propose, Admiral?" Admiral Vex's mouth split into what passed for a smile in his species. "A simple demonstration. We take the First Fleet to their home system. Show them our power. Demand their submission to council authority. They'll see our ships, realize their insignificance, and fall in line like all the others." "And if they refuse?" Dr. Mole asked, his energy form flickering with concern. "Then we teach them the consequences of defiance," Vex replied. "Though I doubt it will come to that. No species has ever resisted after seeing the might of our fleet." The council president looked around the chamber. All in favor of Admiral Vex's proposal. Hands, tentacles, and various appendages rose across the room. Only Dr. Mole and a few others abstained. "Very well," the president declared. "Admiral Vex, you have authorization to proceed. Show these humans their place in the galactic community." As the meeting adjourned, Dr. Mole approached Admiral Vex privately. "I suggest caution, Admiral. There's something unusual about their technology. The size-to-power ratios don't make sense according to our understanding." Admiral Vex laughed, a harsh sound like grinding metal. "Worried about ships we could crush under our feet. Your concerns are noted, Doctor, but unnecessary. In one standard week, humanity will understand its position in the galaxy, right at the bottom, where it belongs." As the Admiral strode away to prepare his fleet, Dr. Mole's energy form pulsed with worry. Something about these humans didn't fit the normal patterns, but like so many times before, military pride was drowning out scientific caution. He could only hope they weren't making a terrible mistake. Captain Robert Walker stood at the observation deck of Earth Defense Station Alpha, his eyes fixed on the holographic display showing the positions of Earth's defense fleet. At 52 years old, he had spent more than half his life defending Earth and its colonies. His weathered face reflected both experience and concern as new data streamed across the screen. "Sir, we're picking up massive energy signatures at the edge of our detection range," reported Lieutenant Tom Reed from his station. "They're unlike anything we've seen before." Walker's eyes narrowed. The defense grid had detected over 500 vessels entering the solar system, each one enormous by human standards. The smallest of them was the size of a small city. "Show me the energy efficiency readings," Walker ordered, his voice calm despite the situation. The numbers that appeared made him smile slightly. These alien ships were burning enough power to run a small planet, yet achieving less speed than Earth's newest corvettes. Major Annabelle, the fleet's chief analyst, walked up beside him. "Sir, you need to see this." She pulled up detailed scans of the alien fleet. "They're massive, yes, but look at all this wasted space. Their engine-to-mass ratio is terrible. It's like they never heard of compact design." Walker nodded, beginning to understand. They built their ships like ancient sea vessels. Bigger means better. They never learned to think small. The station's communication system crackled to life. "Captain Walker, priority message from Fleet Command." The large screen at the front of the observation deck displayed Admiral William Stone's face. "Captain, I assume you've seen our visitors." "Yes, sir. 500-plus vessels, all of them huge, all of them inefficient." "Indeed." The Admiral's face showed the ghost of a smile. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies, demanding our immediate surrender. Apparently, they find our fleet's size amusing." Walker looked at his own fleet. 50 ships, each one a masterpiece of human engineering. Decades of living in cramped space stations and limited resources had taught humanity valuable lessons about efficiency. Every cubic meter of their ships served a purpose. No space wasted, no energy lost. "Your orders, sir." "Implement Defense Plan Delta," the Admiral replied. "Let's show them why size isn't everything." Walker turned to his crew. "Send word to all ships, begin emergency deployment procedures, and get me the engine room." Chief Engineer Mike Peters appeared on a side screen, his hands already busy at his controls. "Captain." "Mike, remember those engine modifications you've been wanting to test? The ones that break about 15 different laws of physics." The engineer's eyes lit up. "The ones that could either double our maneuverability or turn us into a very expensive firework display." "Yes, sir." "Get them ready. All ships." Walker turned back to Major Bell. "Anna, I want complete analysis of their weak points. Tom, coordinate with the other ships. I want our response to look scared and disorganized." "Sir." Tom looked confused. "They expect us to be primitive and frightened," Walker explained. "So let's give them what they expect. For now." The next few hours were a blur of activity. Earth's fleet moved into seemingly random positions, appearing to panic at the approach of the alien armada. But beneath the apparent chaos, each ship was precisely where it needed to be. Walker watched the alien fleet draw closer on the tactical display. Their formation was rigid, traditional, exactly what you'd expect from a force that relied on intimidation through size. "Message from the alien flagship, sir," Tom announced. They're laughing at us. Literally laughing." Walker smiled. "Good. Send our response. Make it sound frightened. Tell them we're just a young species, that we didn't know there were others out there. Tell them we surrender." "Sir." Major Bell raised an eyebrow. "The best surprise is one your enemy never sees coming," Walker said, watching the massive alien ships move closer, their crews no doubt celebrating their easy victory. "And humanity has gotten very, very good at surprises." He touched the fleet-wide communication panel. "All ships, prepare for Combat Protocol Omega. Let's show these giants why Earth never needed to build bigger ships. We just built better ones. Admiral Vex stood proudly on the command bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Glory, a vessel so large it could house the entire human fleet in its landing bays. The massive view screen showed Earth's pathetic defensive formation, if one could even call it that. The tiny human ships looked like insects compared to his mighty armada. "Open a channel to all frequencies," Vex commanded. "Let them hear their fate." The communication officer, a tall insectoid being, clicked its mandibles in acknowledgement. "Channel open, Admiral." "Attention, primitive human fleet," Vex's voice boomed across space. "You see before you the might of the Galactic Council. Your surrender has been noted, but we require more. Land your vessels. Deactivate your weapons. Prepare to be boarded." The response came quickly in a shaky human voice. "Please, we need time to coordinate our landing procedures. Our ships have never docked with vessels of your size." Vex laughed, the sound echoing across his massive bridge. "Did you hear that?" he asked his crew. "They're frightened by our size. Take your time, little humans. We can wait." But something caught his tactical officer's eye. "Admiral, the human ships, their movement patterns seem strange." "Strange how?" "They appear to be retreating in panic, but—" The tactical officer's tentacles wavered uncertainly. "The chaos seems organized." Before Vex could respond, his science officer interrupted. "Admiral, energy readings from the human vessels are changing. There. Suddenly, the tiny human fleet stopped their erratic movements. Every ship froze in space, taking positions that now, seen together, formed a perfect attack formation. Captain Walker's voice came through the comm system again, but this time it was different, confident, almost amused. "Admiral Vex, thank you for being so predictable. You're probably wondering why our ships are so small compared to yours. Allow us to demonstrate." What happened next made Vex's 4 hearts skip a beat. The human ship's engines lit up with energy readings that shouldn't have been possible for vessels that size. They accelerated at speeds his sensors could barely track. "Impossible," Vex roared. "Nothing that small should move that fast. Raise shields. Battle stations." But the human ships were already moving. They darted between his massive vessels with precision that seemed to defy physics. Where his ships needed millions of units of power just to turn, the human vessels spun and weaved like dancers. "Sir," his tactical officer shouted, "they're weapons. They're not primitive at all. They're just compact." A human ship no bigger than the Eternal Glory's shuttle passed close to their view screen. Vex could now see the vessel clearly, and what he saw chilled him. There was no wasted space, no unnecessary bulk. Every part served a purpose. It was like comparing a bloated cargo hauler to a precision surgical tool. "All ships, open fire," Vex commanded. But the human vessels were too quick, too agile. His massive weapons, designed to destroy equally massive targets, couldn't track the nimble Earth ships. Walker's voice came through again. "You know, Admiral, we could have built big ships like yours, but living in space taught us something your people seem to have forgotten. Efficiency matters. Why build a ship the size of a city when you can pack the same punch in something the size of a building?" As if to demonstrate this point, one of the human vessels fired a weapon that seemed to originate from a barely visible point on its hull. The beam cut through one of Vex's support ships, like it was made of paper. "That's impossible." Vex slammed his fists on his command console. "Our scans showed no weapons of that power." "No," Walker corrected him. "Your scans showed no weapons that size. This is something you should learn about humans. Admiral, we don't believe in showing off with size. We believe in getting the job done. Now, would you like to reconsider your demands for our surrender?" Vex stared at his tactical display in horror as the tiny human fleet, which he had dismissed as primitive and weak, began to systematically take apart his massive armada. He had never seen such a combination of speed, power, and precision. He had come to teach humanity its place in the galaxy. Instead, humanity was teaching him a lesson about the dangers of underestimating those who appeared small. The space around Earth had become a deadly dance floor. Human ships wove between the massive alien vessels with impossible grace, while the Council fleet struggled to track their movements. On the bridge of the Earth Defense Force flagship, Swift Justice, Captain Walker watched the battle unfold with calculated calm. Engineering report, Walker commanded, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. Chief Engineer Mike Peters' voice crackled through the comm. Those new engine modifications are working better than expected, sir. We're hitting 300% of standard maneuverability. The aliens can't even turn their ships before we're behind them. Major Bell's analysis station lit up with new data. Captain, you need to see this. We're picking up transmissions from their fleet. They're panicking. Walker moved to her station, watching as alien communications scrolled across the screen. Their confusion was evident even through the translation matrix. They couldn't understand how ships so small could be so powerful. Show me their flagship's power readings, Walker ordered. The numbers appeared on screen, and several crew members gasped. The alien flagship was burning enough energy to power all of Earth's colonies for a year, just to move its massive bulk through space. In contrast, the Swift Justice used less than 1,000th of that energy, while achieving 5 times the speed. Sir, Lieutenant Reed called out. Admiral Stone is requesting a fleet-wide broadcast. He wants to explain to our visitors exactly what they're facing. Walker nodded. Put him through. Admiral Stone's weathered face appeared on all ships' communication channels, both human and alien. This is Admiral William Stone of the Earth Defense Force. Since you seem confused by our capabilities, allow me to explain what you're actually seeing. The tactical display shifted, showing a detailed cross-section of a standard human warship alongside one of the alien vessels. The difference was striking. You built your ships like floating cities, Stone continued, his voice carrying the weight of experience. We built ours like precision instruments. Where you have massive halls and corridors, we have compact passageways. Where you have ceremonial chambers and vast empty spaces, we have efficiently arranged systems and equipment. The display zoomed in on the human ship's engine section. Our fusion drives aren't bigger than yours. They're better. We learned to compress the same power into a fraction of the space. Our weapons don't need to be visible from a neighboring star system to be effective. We focused on accuracy over intimidation. On the bridge of the eternal glory, Admiral Vex watched in growing horror as another of his massive ships was disabled by a vessel he could barely see on his view screen. The human ships had positioned themselves in a complex three-dimensional grid, turning his fleet's size against itself. Every time his ships tried to maneuver, they risked colliding with each other. Impossible, Vex muttered. Their technology. It violates everything we know about ship design. No, Stone's voice corrected him. It doesn't violate anything except your assumptions. Humanity had to be efficient because we couldn't afford to waste resources. Every cubic meter of our ship serves a purpose. We didn't have the luxury of building monuments to our ego. On the Swift Justice, Walker received a priority alert. Sir, their flagship is attempting to bring its main weapon online. Energy readings are off the scale. Walker smiled slightly. And how long will it take them to power up? At least 3 minutes, sir. And how long would it take us? 7 seconds. Walker opened a channel to the alien flagship. Admiral Vex, I wouldn't recommend charging your main weapon. By the time it's ready to fire, we could have disabled your entire command section 5 times over. This is your final chance to stand down. The silence that followed was deafening. Across the battlefield, the massive alien ships hung motionless, their crews finally understanding the truth. They hadn't encountered a primitive species with tiny ships. They had encountered a civilization that had mastered the art of efficiency, turning their perceived weakness into their greatest strength. The age of building bigger ships had just come to an end. The era of human innovation had begun. The next 30 minutes of battle would later be studied in military academies across the galaxy. The human fleet moved like a swarm of deadly hornets around the massive council ships, demonstrating warfare tactics that had never been seen before. Formation Delta 7, Captain Walker commanded. His fleet responded instantly, breaking into 5 groups of 10 ships each. The alien vessels, still trying to turn their massive bulk to face the latest threat, found themselves surrounded on all sides. On the Eternal Glory's bridge, Admiral Vex watched in growing despair as his mighty fleet fell into chaos. How? He demanded. How are they coordinating their attacks so perfectly? His tactical officer's voice trembled. Sir, they're ships. They're using the space between our vessels as cover. They're too small and fast for our targeting systems. Another explosion rocked the flagship. A human vessel had slipped through their defenses and precisely targeted one of their main power conduits, a weakness that should have been impossible to spot, let alone hit. Hull breach on Deck 7. Someone shouted. They're not trying to destroy us. They're disabling our systems one by one. Back on the Swift Justice, Major Bell's analysis painted a clear picture of the battle. Their ships can't turn fast enough to bring their weapons to bear, she reported. Their size makes them predictable. Every evasive maneuver they attempt leaves another ship exposed. Walker nodded, watching as his fleet executed another precision strike. Earth's ships darted between the massive alien vessels, their compact size allowing them to exploit gaps in the enemy formation. Where the alien ships needed kilometers to turn, human vessels could spin on their axis in seconds. Status of their weapons? Walker asked. Lieutenant Reed checked his readings. Their main guns are useless against us, sir. They're designed to hit capital ships their own size. We're too small and fast for their targeting systems to lock on. The battle continued to demonstrate the fundamental difference in military philosophy between the two civilizations. The Council fleet had been built to dominate through sheer size and power. Their weapons were designed to destroy equally massive targets at long range. But against the nimble human ships, they might as well have been trying to swat flies with a sledgehammer. Engineering to bridge, Chief Peters called. The new point defense system is working perfectly. Their missiles can't track our heat signatures. We're too compact to register on their targeting systems. Another alien vessel went dark, its main power core precisely disabled by a surgical strike from 3 human ships working in perfect coordination. The Council fleet's formation was beginning to break apart as ships tried desperately to protect their vulnerable spots from enemies they could barely track. Sir, Major Bell reported, we're detecting emergency shutdown procedures across their fleet. 27 of their capital ships have lost main power. No casualties, just like you ordered. Walker allowed himself a small smile. Even in victory, humanity was proving a point. They didn't need to destroy the alien ships or kill their crews. Precision strikes to disable rather than destroy demonstrated an even higher level of technological superiority. On the Eternal Glory, Admiral Vex received damage reports from across his fleet. Ship after ship reported critical systems failing, power cores shutting down, weapons going offline, all done with surgical precision by vessels he had dismissed as insignificant. Admiral, his second-in-command said quietly, we've lost operational control of over half the fleet. The humans, they're not just beating us. They're doing it without a single confirmed kill. Vex stared at his tactical display, watching as more of his ships went dark. The human fleet's attack patterns suddenly became clear to him. They were systematically isolating his command ship, cutting off all support, all retreat options. A final explosion rocked his flagship as 3 human vessels executed a synchronized strike on his remaining engine controls. The mighty Eternal Glory, pride of the Council fleet, drifted powerless in space. The battle that was supposed to teach humanity its place had instead taught the galaxy a lesson. True power wasn't about size. It was about how you used what you had. Admiral Vex stood in his darkened bridge, emergency lights casting shadows across his scaled face. The mighty Eternal Glory, once the pride of the Council fleet, floated powerless in space. Through the main viewport, he watched as the human ships maintained their perfect formation around his crippled vessel, like wolves surrounding wounded prey. "Status report," he demanded, his voice hollow. His tactical officer worked at the backup systems. 312 ships completely disabled. Another 150 have lost main weapons and propulsion. The rest. He paused, mandibles clicking nervously. The rest are surrounded, just like us. The main screen flickered to life, powered by emergency batteries. Captain Walker's face appeared, looking calm and composed. "Admiral Vex, I believe it's time we had a proper conversation about surrender. This time, from your side." Vex's secondary arms clenched in rage while his primary ones gripped his command console. You dare mock the might of the Council fleet." "Mock?" Walker raised an eyebrow. "No, Admiral. We're teaching. Look around you. We could have destroyed your entire fleet. Instead, we disabled it. Precisely, efficiently, without a single loss of life." As if to emphasize his point, 3 human ships glided past the viewport. Vex could now see them clearly for the first time. Their hulls were sleek, every surface serving a purpose. No grand decorations, no massive viewing galleries, no wasted space. They were tools, perfectly designed for their purpose. "Sir," his science officer called out, "I'm receiving detailed scans of the human vessels. Their power systems, they're incredible. They're using technologies we thought were theoretical. Their engine cores, they're the size of our shuttle engines, but producing more power than our main reactors." Walker's voice carried a hint of pride. "We had to be creative, Admiral. Earth isn't rich in resources like some Council worlds. We couldn't afford to build massive ships, so we learned to build better ones." The human captain manipulated something off-screen, and a new image appeared. It showed a technical comparison between their vessels. The Council ship's massive power core, enough to run a small city, was being outperformed by a human reactor a fraction of its size. "Your mistake," Walker continued, "was thinking that size equals advancement. You built bigger ships because you could, not because you should. We built small ships because we had to. And in doing so, we pushed our technology to its limits and beyond." Vex watched as another group of human ships executed a perfect formation change, moving in ways his vessels couldn't hope to match. Their coordination was flawless, their movements precise. Everything he had dismissed as primitive was actually advanced beyond his understanding. "The choices are simple, Admiral," Walker said. "Option 1, you order your remaining functional ships to power down, and we begin negotiations for your fleet's safe return home. Option 2, we continue disabling your ships one by one until none are left operational. Either way, the outcome is the same. The only question is how many more of your crews need to sit in emergency lighting before you accept reality." The bridge fell silent. Vex looked at his crew, saw the fear and resignation in their eyes. They had come to teach humanity a lesson about power. Instead, they had learned one about hubris. "Engineering reports life support will fail in 6 hours on emergency power," his second-in-command reported quietly. The human weapons, they knew exactly where to hit us. They could have breached our hull, killed us all. Instead, they just disabled us. Vex closed all 4 of his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, the pride was gone, replaced by understanding. "Open a channel to all remaining ships," he ordered. The communications officer complied with shaking hands. "This is Admiral Vex to all Council vessels. Power down your ships. I repeat, power down all ships." He looked directly at Walker's image on the screen. "Captain, you have our surrender." Walker nodded solemnly. "A wise decision, Admiral. Now shall we discuss how to move forward? After all, there's clearly much our civilizations can learn from each other." Around them, the remaining Council ships began powering down, their massive forms becoming dark silhouettes against the stars. The battle was over. The age of mindless expansion had ended. A new era of human-inspired innovation was about to begin. 1 month after the battle that changed galactic history, the Galactic Council chamber looked very different. Where once there had been mockery of human ships, now there was eager attention as Captain Walker stood at the podium, addressing representatives from over 50 species. The council president spoke first, his bark-like skin seeming more weathered than before. This emergency session will now begin. The topic: reconsidering our understanding of technological advancement in light of recent events. Dr. Mole, the energy being who had first cautioned against underestimating humans, floated forward. Our analysis of human technology has revealed something remarkable. They achieved in centuries what took us millennia, simply because they faced different challenges. The chamber's main screen displayed images from the battle. The council members watched in silence as the tiny human fleet systematically disabled ships many times their size. But now, instead of dismissal, there was respect in their eyes. "We built bigger because we could," Admiral Vex admitted, speaking from a Psi platform. His proud bearing was gone, replaced by humble wisdom. Humans built smaller because they had to. And in doing so, they surpassed us all. Walker activated a holographic display, showing the internal layout of a standard human vessel. "We're willing to share some of our basic design principles," he said. "Not our military technology, but our approach to efficiency and compact engineering." The chamber erupted in excited discussion. Species that had once looked down on humanity now clamored to learn from them. Representatives made notes as Walker explained how humans had turned their greatest limitation, lack of resources, into their greatest strength. Already, the council president announced, 17 member species have submitted proposals to redesign their fleets based on human principles. The age of building bigger simply because we can is over. In Earth orbit, the scene was equally historic. Council engineers floated beside human technicians, studying the swift justice with obvious amazement. Every time they found a new example of human innovation, their respect grew. But the most important lesson, Walker continued at the council, isn't about ship design. It's about assumptions. Every species here assumed that bigger meant better, that size equaled power. Nobody stopped to ask, what if there's another way? The council's military committee, now headed by a new admiral, presented their findings. "We've completely revised our combat doctrine. Size is no longer considered a primary measure of military power. Efficiency, maneuverability, and precision are now our key metrics." In the weeks following the battle, other changes swept through the galaxy. Trading ships were redesigned to be smaller and faster. Space stations were rebuilt with efficiency in mind. Species that had once competed to build the biggest vessels now competed to build the most innovative ones. "Humanity has earned a permanent seat on the council," the president declared, "not through size or strength, but through innovation and wisdom. They did not destroy our fleet when they could have. Instead, they taught us a better way." Walker looked around the chamber, remembering the battle. "We don't want to dominate," he said. "We want to cooperate. Every species has something to teach, and something to learn. We just happen to learn our lessons in a different way." The council session concluded with a historic vote. The galaxy's standard measurement systems would be revised. Ship classifications would no longer be based on size. New categories were created based on efficiency and capability. The human way was becoming the galactic way. As Walker left the chamber, Dr. Mole approached him. "You know," the energy being said, "some still wonder why you didn't simply destroy our fleet when you had the chance." Walker smiled, "Because that's not who we are. Humanity didn't survive and thrive by destroying everything in our path. We did it by adapting, innovating, and turning problems into opportunities." He looked out at the stars through the council station's viewport. In the distance, he could see ships of various species, already beginning to change. Some were noticeably smaller than before, sleeker, more efficient. Besides, Walker added, why destroy potential friends just because they made the mistake of judging by size? Sometimes the best way to win isn't to defeat your enemy. It's to help them become better. The galaxy would never be the same. The species that had once mocked humanity's tiny fleet had learned a vital lesson. True greatness isn't measured in size, but in how much you can achieve with what you have.